On the 7th of July, 2026, Seiko hands one man a single watch, and that watch is still counting. It measures 1 million hours. That is 114 years on one dial. Only one was ever built, and it is not for sale. But that is not the part that should worry Switzerland. The part that should worry Switzerland sits in the accounts, filed in the same 12 months, while Geneva was busy arguing about tariffs. A company most people still file under affordable dive watches has just posted numbers the biggest names in Swiss luxury cannot currently match. Seiko is 145 years old this year, and it has picked a strange moment to have its loudest one. Start where the story starts. 1881, a small shop in Tokyo selling and repairing clocks. 1913, Japan's first wristwatch. 1965, Japan's first diver's watch, strapped to men who actually went under. 1969, the Astron, the first quartz wristwatch the world has ever seen. Understand what that one object did. Across the 2 decades that followed, Swiss watchmaking lost roughly 2/3 of its workforce because a Japanese company had made accuracy cheap. The men running Geneva in 1969 looked at the Astron and called it a novelty. It took them 10 years to understand it was an extinction event. That memory sits underneath everything Seiko announces now, and it is why this industry watches this company differently than it watches anyone else. So look closely at the watch Seiko built for Shohei Ohtani. They call it Star Time. The dial is 5 stacked discs. The center is a 24-hour dial that tells the time like any watch you own. Complete one turn of that center disc, and the next ring moves once, a rotation that takes 1,000 hours, roughly 42 days. Beyond that, 10,000 hours. Beyond that, 100,000. And at the outer edge, 1 million. Ohtani asked for the diamonds. The one at the center is the North Star, the point that never moves while everything else turns around it. The choice of wearer is not decoration. Ohtani is the most watched athlete Japan has ever produced, a man who pitches and hits in a sport that stopped allowing both a century ago. Seiko signed him, then let him help design this thing, disc by disc, over months. The metaphor they agreed on was the movement of stars, motion you cannot perceive in the moment and cannot possibly miss across a year. 42 millimeters of high-intensity titanium, a blue ceramic bezel under box sapphire, waterproof to 100 meters, because he wants to wear it, not display it. And Seiko has said almost nothing about the movement inside, which is the loudest thing in the entire announcement. You do not stay quiet about a caliber you have finished with. You stay quiet about one you intend to use again. Which brings us to the technology Seiko is willing to talk about. In 2025, the company introduced Spring Drive Ultra-Fine Accuracy, a movement powered by an ordinary mainspring and regulated by a quartz oscillator that is aged for 3 months before it is ever fitted. Its accuracy is not quoted per day. It is not quoted per month. It is quoted at 20 seconds per year. Through 2026, that movement spread across the Grand Seiko range, including a new 40.8mm diver, the smallest Grand Seiko diver ever made, wrapped around the most accurate mainspring-driven movement currently in production anywhere on Earth. Underneath the headline pieces sits the new Marine Master, and it matters more than either of them. Announced in March, on sale from July, carrying caliber 8L45, 72 hours of reserve, rated to +10 and -5 seconds a day, in a 300-meter case that traces the lines of the 1,968 original. 1,000 of them wear a textured blue dial made with Jamstec, Japan's marine research agency. Imagining the trail an icebreaker cuts through Arctic sea ice. This is the first time that movement has appeared in a prospectus you can simply walk in and buy. Now, the accounts, because this is where the story stops being about watches. For the financial year ending March 2026, Seiko's watch division reported 203 billion yen, a little over a billion Swiss francs, and growth of 27%. Its operating margin was 15.1%. Richemont's, in the same window, was around 3. Swatch Group's was under 5. Watches now make up 61% of everything Seiko Group sells. In the first quarter of 2026, Grand Seiko grew more than 25%. Across the same period, Swiss exports fell 12.8 billion francs in the first half of 2026. Shipments to the United States dropped nearly 15%. China, The second largest market in the world at the end of 2024 has fallen to sixth. Quick ask before we go further. If you are finding this useful, hit subscribe and tap the bell, because the next few minutes are the part nobody in this industry says out loud. And here is where an honest documentary slows down. Those Swiss numbers are distorted. In April 2025, brands shoved stock across the Atlantic ahead of a tariff that eventually hit 39%, and every figure since is measured against that spike. Strip the United States out, and Swiss exports grew. Volumes actually rose, driven by cheap mechanical watches up nearly 24%. Switzerland is not collapsing. Switzerland is being repriced. Both things are true at once, and anyone selling you only one of them is selling you something. So here is the honest answer to whether you should care, and it depends entirely on where you sit. If you have never owned a Seiko, the pressure is already working in your favor. Swiss brands are now being asked to defend a chronometer rating of 6 seconds a day against a Japanese movement rated at 20 seconds a year. If you already own one, you are holding something made by a company in the middle of deciding what it wants to be. There is a harder criticism, and it points the other way entirely. Seiko's climb has a bill attached, and its own customers are the ones paying it. The new Marine Master costs about $700 more than the model it replaces. King Seiko and prospects now sit at $3,000 and $4,000 in territory Swiss brands have defended for decades. Critics argue the prices climbed faster than the quality did, and that enthusiasts who forgave a misaligned bezel on a $300 diver will never forgive it at 10 times the price. Seiko built a cult on value. Value is exactly what it is spending. Stand in a boutique in 2026, and you can feel that tension in the room. The case in front of you holds a watch that shares a factory and a philosophy with the one built for Otani, and it costs what a Swiss diver costs. You are no longer being offered a bargain. You are being offered a choice, judged on its own terms, against everybody. That is what Seiko asked for. It is also the hardest position in this industry to hold, and plenty of brands have lost themselves trying to hold it. Seiko knows. In June, at Watches and Wonders in Geneva, company president Akio Naito described what he called the brand's third phase, reaching people who do not consider themselves watch enthusiasts at all. Credor, the ultra-high-end line that has barely left Japan in its entire history, exhibited at that fair for the first time this year. And in May and June, Seiko quietly filed trademarks for Queen Seiko in Japan and the United States. The 1962 companion to King Seiko, which came back in 2022. Nothing has been announced. Companies do not file in 3 markets at once for nothing. So watch what is actually happening here. In 1969, Seiko made a watch that was cheaper and better and very nearly ended mechanical watchmaking. In 2026, it is attempting something stranger and far more difficult. It is arguing that a mainspring, a coiled ribbon of metal, still has somewhere left to go, and then proving it 20 seconds a year at a time in a category everyone had already written off. Somewhere in Los Angeles tonight, 5 discs are turning at speeds you cannot see. The outer one completes a single rotation in the year 2140. Nobody watching this will be there to check it, and that is the entire point. Seiko did not build a watch that tells you what time it is. It built one that tells you how little of it you get, and then asks what you intend to do with the rest. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more coming.